Yeah, start recording.
We are connecting to live video. And we are. We're
Oh
live!
my god!
This is Producing Music Podcast with Mark Dollar and Cooper Anderson.
Producing Music Podcast, episode 14, brought to you by myself, Cooper Anderson, and the one and only.
Mark Dollar.
We are here
No,
to discuss our three major segments of the show: New Music Friday, Music News, and the Top 5.
Yes,
We have a very special top 5. We're kind of starting a new genre of top 5s this week, but we'll get to all that a little later. First things first, if you have any questions or comments that you'd like us to address on the show, please drop a comment on the Facebook. We're live on Facebook right now. And of course, we will be posting this to YouTube and Spotify and iTunes and all the other podcast platforms on Tuesday. But for right now, the best place to check us out is at Facebook, for sure.
Facebook loves us. They have a lot of love for us. We get a lot of cool people. You know what? We may not have a lot of interactions, but every time I talk to people, it's like they fill me in about parts of or things that I've said on the podcast that I might have forgot about. I mean, people are listening.
That's good. You know, shout out to everybody who's listening and watching.
Shout out to everybody that listens. I also got some comments from some people, that they love to see me bash new songs and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So let's get right to the bashing, because as usual, this week's New Music Friday was trash. I'm gonna kick it. I'm gonna kick it right off with the first song, Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion. WAP stands for Wet Blank Blank, and all I have to say is gross.
Yeah.
No, I do not want to hear that song ever again. Yuck.
Apparently, there's a lot of pussy talk on this new.
Oh my goodness.
This week.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, and it's just it's gross. That's all that everybody talks about. Seems like that's what hip hop is kind of, stuck in the gutter on these days, is everybody's OPP. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
So that was like, I just, it was one of those things where I couldn't stop listening to it. It was so foul. I had to listen to it. But now that I made it through and survived, I'm good. I'm good with that song. I don't need to hear that ever again.
Yeah.
Number 2 on the list was Juice WRLD. This dude, I mean, he passed away, a year ago, and he's still dropping songs every week. I mean...
every single week.
How does that even happen? I don't know. There's people alive who aren't dropping songs every week. I don't know what's going on there. But, I'm sorry that he passed away, but, was he really that much better than everybody who's, alive still?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's good that he produced that much music in the time that he was alive. I just personally feel like it's very interesting to see that he's always constantly collaborating with new artists. There's a song with The Weeknd now.
You know what it probably is the labels or whoever owns all those recordings was probably like, all right, we got all these recordings we're sitting on. Dude's passed away. guess what? We don't have to pay him any royalties. Let's put the stuff out because we're going to collect all that money.
Oh yeah, they are. Hey, they probably were thinking about that a little bit more than he was, which is so unfortunate, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I just watched this amazing interview with Russ on Illmind's Twitch channel. And that's what he was saying was like, um, these kids with they go viral on TikTok, the labels swoop in and sign them for a 3-album deal. But guess what? After that moment is done on TikTok and the label vacuumed out all that money from that, then they're going to shelf you and then they're going to own you. And then like you can't do anything until that contract expires. And, it's unfortunate because, yeah, if you owned your own stuff and never sold out to the labels, then at least, you may not get as much upfront money, but at least you still own your stuff and you can keep your career going, and long term it's going to be more lucrative. I mean, Russ, the headline for the video is Russ makes $100K a week from TuneCore.
Yes.
Like he's not signed. He's on TuneCore. I'm more of a DistroKid guy, but it's like the same thing. Like, you basically like just post. He's posting stuff like everybody else. He posts a song a week too. So that's kind of how he's like. But I guess that's the new model. That's what we were talking about last week. Daniel Ek, was saying everybody's got to post, and then you got to feed the algorithms, and that's how you move it up. So I just have a few more to mention. I don't even think I made it through the whole playlist, actually, to be honest. But there's a few songs I liked. Lie by Sasha Sloan, Down to One by Luke Bryan, Mama featuring Sting by Gashi, Good Luck by Elio, Are You Happy by Shy Martin, and Yalla by Abir. And a lot of those are just like artists that I follow regularly just have a new song. So, I mean, that's, I guess, for me, the most useful thing from this playlist is like artists that I like are dropping new stuff.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's always the same. I feel when it comes to the playlist, it's always the same for me. I'm not gonna sit here and like go and bash other people. I always try to spin it too with like a different light as to how we can, make better songs. But in terms of just reviewing it, it's like it's starting. You were just saying before this, it's starting to become like, do we even bother? Because I guess sometimes we're looking for these playlists to be a little bit more responsible in terms of what is actually good versus what is shit on the playlist. But I don't think these people care. Like you said on many episodes before, it's just about the money. And yeah, the Doja, there's a Doja Cat song on there now. I thought we canceled Doja Cat. And yeah, there's tons of vagina talk on, this. And look, there's just for as much as the little bit of vagina talk there is on there's probably 2 or 3 songs about penis in there.
It's all gross. It's all gross. I don't want to hear about any of that. Keep your pants on. I don't care.
It's like,
I guess it's funny for TikTok, but like whatever, TikTok's gonna be banned.
I'm not saying songs have to be lame and not as poetic, but I mean, we have a language to our disposal.
Yeah, there's other words besides D ... and P ... Try to keep it clean on here, whatever.
Yeah, I dig it. Man.
There's plenty of uncensored, words like that on the New Music Friday playlist. If those are the words that you like to hear on a regular basis, just turn that playlist on, and there's plenty of it. What else do you have? What else you got?
Well, for me, it was that Bronson song. I was a big fan of that Bronson song. I hear the deal. When it came to WAP, I like the nod to some of the 90s dance songs, but there was it's just one of those things that I just wish they didn't feel like they had to go to that extreme level to talk about it again, just being gross. I like the kind of like the Joji Diplo song "Daylight."
Oh, I did like that
Glass,
one too. Yeah,
yeah,
I forgot about that one.
Glass Animals,
Yeah.
Tangerine, really cool. Rod Wave was kind of sweet. I was just listening to the song 645 AR with FA Twigs. I thought that was pretty cool. Plus, I love FKA Twigs. She's super dope. With that being said, everything else for me was just kind of a hit or miss. I hated that new Machine Gun and Kelly song. I just think that dude's wasting his time. David Guetta is on there. I just wasn't really feeling it. There's a
Yeah, David Guetta
song,
was like the reggaeton song.
yeah,
It's
it
like
was
the
kind of
David
weird.
Guetta does reggaeton, and it was basically like a reggaeton song that sounded like all of the songs that the artists who are featured on that song, like it sounded like all of their other songs.
Yeah, exactly. I did like this song called Woodlawn by Amine. I'm sorry if I'm fucking butchering your name, dude, or whoever you are. With that being said, I thought that song with FKA Twigs was dope. Yeah, but again, going back to it, there's a Blink 182 song on the playlist too. I thought that was pretty cool. I love my punk rock. Again, we got more pussy talk with Punani and 6ix9ine. It's like
Yeah,
what the
yeah, Punani, yeah.
dude. It's like yeah, it's like okay now. Like I'm just thinking about the kids.
Well, that's
You
the thing
know,
too. Like when I was 12, I thought this stuff was hilarious. You know what I mean? I had NWA. She swallowed it. You know what I mean? I listened to that on repeat, and I thought it was hilarious.
yeah. I
So
mean,
like, I don't know. I mean, but I guess that is that who's like spinning all these songs. Like, you know, I don't know. But
I,
this is like way more because that was like a couple. I guess in general, there's like just a lot more music now, but like
come
just
on,
like
they weren't straight saying pussy on the radio.
yeah, on like every single song, it was like a couple
Yeah,
songs that you had to like know about.
yeah, dude.
That
Wild.
wasn't on. That wasn't on the new releases at Tower Records in 1992.
Really wasn't. Really wasn't at all. I mean, for me, again, I like it's just hard to get through a playlist and want to enjoy yourself. But it's also to each his own. Like when it comes to like reggaeton, some of those songs are completely misogynistic. However, you got grandmothers listening to that stuff, and it's like okay, cool. Like they think it's cool. All right, sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, you do
Um,
you.
yeah, you do you. That's the theme of this one. You do you. You like what you like. And I hate what I fucking hate. Mhm.
That is correct.
Music news time, Cooper. There's a lot to talk about here.
There is.
Uh,
I just clicked off the live for some
cool.
reason. I'm
Like
trying to get
they
back
think it's
onto.
cool. All right, sweet. Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
no.
you do you.
Yeah, you do you.
What is going on here? Yeah. All right. Whatever. Uh, yeah. So the main music news is kind of a continuation of what we were talking about last week, which is the TikTok, China ban, et cetera, et cetera. So the latest, greatest. I think this was yesterday. Trump issues an executive order banning TikTok within 45 days, which effectively puts a deadline on the potential Microsoft sale. Now, that actually, like, Microsoft had already set, like, a self-imposed deadline of September 15th, so that's kind of within those parameters. But I think it's, I don't know. Oh, and it also applies to WeChat, which I think is the more kind of interesting thing, because WeChat is, like, iMessages in China, basically. Like everybody's using this thing to like communicate, like, or well, I guess it's more like Facebook. Like everybody's on it all the time. Like you spend like 8 hours a day, you do all your like business, games, entertainment, connecting with family. It's all happening on WeChat in China. And then as far as it relates to the US, that's how like, Chinese people communicate with people in America is over WeChat. It's like similar to WhatsApp, but like the Chinese version. So I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes. It's a lot of we get the election coming up, so there's going to be a lot of like wild and crazy shenanigans from the politicians, and I think that's part of it. And hopefully, we don't do any permanent damage. But the thing about executive orders is, they can get, if they're particularly harmful to the public, they can get, injunctions from the courts. So we'll see. I think everybody's kind of just trying to keep the ball rolling on this.
You said something earlier about the labels using TikTok to find the number one artist, and then, and how they'll essentially wash them up by just taking away whatever content. I like to think about it from the inverse, in the fact that, like, I, as a label owner, would never want to rely on someone that is just using like a kind of clickbaity kind of idea to making their music tangible, like a TikTok. I personally feel like, yeah, in a certain different demographic, yeah, it's the way. And this is what I had like a little bit of a debate with someone about this week. It's the number one way that labels find their new talent and their new viral talent. But I think going viral has nothing to do with harboring a lucrative music career. So you have to think past the TikTok, which a lot of these people don't. I mean, I think the conundrum of what's happening is that we just have artists that are now chasing the social media mediums and the platforms, as opposed to just making great music. They now have to think about the marketing alongside with the idea of, all right, yeah, I still want to make this type of sound or genre, but I now have to focus this kind of marketing. So they'll use whatever the hottest samples are, or use just to kind of cut the corners of production and stuff like that. In the same moment, I also love that people again have the opportunity to make music the way they do, but I think chasing the medium is where we're essentially getting it wrong.
Yeah, that was the other thing that Russ mentioned on that interview was the downside of having a song go viral on TikTok is that the song can be bigger than the artist. Meaning,
Yeah,
like, say your song goes viral, they're using 15 seconds of it. They're using the hook, basically,
yeah.
or like a hooky part of the verse. So, yeah, so people are constructing songs to fit that format. But then what happens is, like, nobody knows who these artists are who are coming up with these TikTok songs. So, yeah, your thing's like blowing up and 100 million people hear it, but they don't know who sang it. They don't know anything about you. They don't even care. They like the videos that are
They
being
just like
made
the
to that.
videos of the people dancing, and that's it.
Yeah. So then, like, as far as like what you were saying, like, that doesn't really translate into like career currency. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you might get a bunch of money or whatever, but when you drop your next song, if it doesn't go viral, you're gonna get under 1,000 plays on Spotify because no one knows who you
Sure.
are.
Exactly. So I mean, I just kind of look at it in a way in where I think it would be good. Definitely in the time of now, I think we need to kind of focus, or record labels do need to focus more on our domestic artists and of the like, and trying to figure out how we can grow those into better things, as opposed to, looking at the the vast social media platforms,
Well,
and that's just my
the problem with record labels is they have like, quotas and deadlines and stuff. So they like need like the people who are working there basically need to make the company X number of dollars every quarter or whatever it is to, keep their job basically. So that I mean, this has always been an issue. That kind of contradicts with like the creative thing. Like, yeah, I mean, you and I could crank out a song in a day if we needed to, but like, say we're working on the song and it's not quite happening today, and we have to come back tomorrow and finish it. Say it takes a
Yeah.
week, but it was supposed to take a day.
Yeah.
No big deal on our end, but if it was due that day for the record label, that dude's getting fired or whatever. So they're willing to just put out whatever is like ready to go. And that kind of contributes to like, the whole detriment of the quality of the music basically. So the answer, I guess, is like, everybody's got to be independent, and, the success stories like Russ that show you can actually make like, millions of dollars off this stuff as an independent artist is, to me, is really inspiring. Now you truly do not need these labels. It's more of like, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's good like later in your career, but if you're getting started, like, steer clear of that stuff. It's my advice.
I mean, I always talk to people about that perspective. Ha, every artist that I've met has come to me with that perspective of like going to labels and stuff, and I always try to encourage them that that's not the way that you ever need to go. There are so many ways, platforms that you can express yourself as an artist. You might take to one platform more, or you might be took onto that platform, one platform differently than another. So it's important to just understand that you're just making music as an artist. And the music will go somewhere. You can figure out how. And if you have good marketing tactics to go along with the music, then I feel like it could be sold anywhere.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's move on to our top
Yes.
five. So
Top five.
as I mentioned earlier in the show, we have kind of a new direction for the top five. So we'll probably be on this for a little bit. It's going to be this week. We're going to start off with the top five compressors for mixing.
Yes.
Yeah, so Mark and I actually individually came up with our own lists. There was one that we both had on the same. Well, actually, there's kind of two that are like pretty similar. But why don't you take it first, Mark?
All right. I'll take mine first. So for me, I try to keep it super basic. And this list can change at any one point, but my number one to start is the SSL channel compressors. Now, which one am I using? It can
Classic,
vary.
classic.
Yeah, it can vary. I can use the classic, the Waves SSL channel, E or G channel. I can use the new CLA Mix Hub. I can use the actual SSL native versions. I also have the BX versions of the same thing. So there's a lot of possibilities with those, and I tend to just use whatever channel strip that I feel is necessary for the song. Yeah, I think I could get a lot of good compressing characteristics from the SSL compressors. Um, and I also love it that there's no like metering for it besides the lights. So you kind of have to make a more informed decision about it. But a lot of times when I'm using it, I already know what I want to do with it. And so it just serves that purpose to do that really cool. Um, my number two is Pawn Shop by Cornef Audio. Dan Cornef makes amazing plugins as well as he is an amazing rock and roll mix engineer. He knows analog stuff really well, and Pawn Shop Comp is no exception to the extent of his analog workflow. Uh, it's just a analog feeling compressor. Just feels analog as all hell, and then it has a really cool back panel where you could switch the resistors and the caps, things of that nature. You can add biasing to it to get that like compression tape sound. There's focus kind of sidechain detection features. There's a lot of stuff in this plugin. I just love every single bit of it. You can now pick different tubes in the version 2 of it. So yeah, check out Pawn Shop Comp. I think it's just really awesome and serves a variety of different purposes. Number 3 would be API 2500. The
Another
API
classic.
2500.
Classic. That's by Waves, right? The Waves version.
The
Because
Waves
UAD has one too, but I think the Waves version is the one that kind of everybody's using.
Yeah, it has so much great attack. The attack characteristics in there are just to die for. It's amazing. I personally love it on snare drums when I need more definitive attack out of the snare drum. I sometimes use it at kick drums if I could get it to not lose my low end so much. But or using in parallel, it's also really cool too.
Yeah, yeah. I was
But
gonna
yeah,
say. I was gonna jump. Sorry. Yeah, because when I first saw this list, I was just confirming with you that we were talking about like mixing compressors as on like channels because the API 2500 originally is like a mastering compressor. A lot of
yeah.
mastering engineers I know have like the actual unit, but yeah, no, you were saying yeah, you actually use it on the channels for mixing, and that makes sense because it's a very grabby compressor.
Yeah.
And yeah, for drums, it would probably. That's why I never use it on my mix bus because it is so grabby and like you can only get like a tiny little bit of actual gain reduction from it without it just sounding like it's super compressed, you know?
Well, the secret with the Waves one is that the analog button becomes a soft clipping feature.
Yeah, I saw the Dave Pensato trick. I've actually been using that on my mix bus.
Yeah, and for that, for the mix bus, it's like the perfect sensibility of a crush sometimes. When your gain staged appropriately into the mix, it feels so good when you have it right. Um, but yeah, I love using it on different channels. I'm used to API just having just an amazing style attack, you know, and sometimes that's my go-to as opposed to using anything else to bring out more attack. Some compressors for me, like sometimes the SSL compressors, I love like the medium kind of in between slow and fast attack that I can get. Whereas that API, I'll leave that attack wide open. You
Yeah, you have
know,
a lot more control of the attack and release on the API than the SSL channel compressors for sure.
yeah, cool. My number 4 is Proceed 2 by FabFilter. I
Classic.
love Proceed 2, another classic. For vocals, I have a very specific technique and where I like to just side chain the high, like transity parts of the vocal. And I'll just bring up the volume and the side chain EQ function of it just to slam the hell out of that section of the vocal. I'm left with this very full sounding thing. And I love that. Again,
We should do a little mix tutorial on that because I'm actually kind of that sounds like it's cool and yeah, I'm
okay.
kind of interested.
Okay, cool. Let's do a mix tutorial on it. I'll definitely do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, for vocals, yeah, I love that because when you put it in, you're left with a very smooth sounding vocal, but that's powerful sounding.
I
But
always
yeah,
forget about that one because I feel like it's the interface is like it just seems very sterile to me. So like, I don't know. For me, I'm like I know it's dumb, but like I'm like I like the visuals of the interface,
yeah,
and it's Yeah, but I guess you can get like a lot of cool sounds out of it regardless. I mean, the FabFilter stuff, the workflow is crazy. But yeah, when I think of compressors, I'm looking for some like vintagey, like, I know it's all just code with like a JPEG on top of it, but like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I hear you, dude. Well, my last one is Kramer Pie by Waves. I am a big fan of crushing the shit out of rooms, but leaving them to be super vibey and stuff like that. So Kramer Pie is just slam the shit out of it compressor. And it does it so pleasingly that I keep just wanting more and more and more and more of it. I love it again on drum rooms. Sometimes, if I need a little bit more vibiness out of the overhead, I'll use that. Sometimes on vocals, it's really, really awesome. Um, yeah, I'm just a big fan of it through and through.
Yeah, that
It,
was actually one of mine too. It was number 5 on mine as well. So I'll jump in with my comments on that. But I use it pretty much exclusively on vocals. And it's it used to be like my main one for vocals. Then I don't know. Right now I'm on the Brainworks Focusrite channel is like my kind of main like vocal thing. But yeah, the Kramer Pi, like, it was originally designed as a mix bus compressor, but yeah, it's definitely more, I think, usable as a channel compressor.
yeah,
But yeah, it's yeah, definitely vocals with the fast attack, fast release setting. It's got a really cool sound. It kind of brightens them up in a nice way without like ripping your head off with the sibilants. All right,
yeah. Man,
I'm gonna
we
jump
got
in
to
on
do
mine.
it. Yeah, no, I was just gonna say we should do a a mix tutorial with your vocal team.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I'm gonna do mine. Top 5 compressor plugins for mixing. Number 1, the Lindell Neve 80 channel. Now the way I use this is not really like, I don't like think, oh, I need to compress this. Oh, I'm gonna pull it up. When I'm on my mix template, I kind of throw some sort of BX console on pretty much every track because I like the way the TMT sounds, which is like the random module. I forget what exactly it was, tonal module tolerance or something. But it basically
Yeah,
makes every channel like slightly different from the others. So usually I'll throw the Neves on like basses and instruments, and the default setting where I usually also when I'm mixing, I'll gain all of my clips up to minus 7.5 dB. So it's
cool.
like if they're too loud, it'll bring it down a little bit, and if they're too quiet, it'll bring it up a little bit. So that makes it so when it's feeding into the plugins, you have a decent level, but you have some headroom. Basically, is my concept there. But for whatever reason, the Lindell Neve, it always kind of hits it a little with the compressor at that level, even just a
Yeah,
little bit. And there's not very many controls on it. It's kind of hard to like, if I need a more compressed sound, I'm gonna pull something else up, like probably in addition to that. But it's very smooth, and it does like something nice that kind of like, I don't know, levels everything out a little bit, which is especially nice on non-transient heavy instruments like basses, guitars, keys, that sort of thing.
yeah,
So yeah, so that's number 1. And these are in no particular order either. This is just kind of the order that I thought of them in. I'm sure Mark's are like that as well. You don't really,
yeah.
think,
Well,
oh, I'm going to use this, but if I don't have that, because it's plugins, it's digital, you have as many of them as you need.
yeah,
Okay, so number 2 is the Kush Novatron. I think this
yeah,
is a really cool plugin. It's very easy to control. You get a ton of different sounds, and I use it for like saturaty compression sounds because it actually has a separate saturation knob. But even if you're just compressing, the saturation can get pretty crazy pretty quick. But since there's so many controls, it's really good on a lot of different things because the attack and release ranges are very wide. So you can get like a really slow attack or a really fast attack. and release and whatnot. And yeah, it's just a very vibey compressor. It's really easy to use, and it's got a cool interface.
Yeah, I love the interface of it. I love that.
Number 3. So this one's kind of a general thing. I was talking about this with Mark before. It's the UAD 1176 AE. So 1176 is one of those plugins that, like, you know, there's so many of them. I have probably 25 different 1176 plugins that I can pull up. So, but they all sound very different. So I just kind of like go through them and I'll pick one for a while. Like, you know, last month it was the Black Rooster VLA FET.
Oh yeah.
And then last week it was the Antelope. I forget what even the name of it is, but this week it's the UAD 1176 AE. For some reason, on drums, that's typically what I use 1176s on because they're very good for. If you put the, you know, I do the CLA setting for drums, which is attack on 3 and the release on 7, so slower but not crazy slow attack and fast release, and that kind of lets the transient through, but it, like, you know, gives it some like snap and like makes stuff, you know, really like makes it like you know, makes your drums more punchy basically. And I thought the UAD one right now for me is giving the best results for that type of compression. Number 4.
No.
Number 4.
Number 4.
Oh, before we move to number 4, do you have a favorite 1176 while we're talking about 1176s?
I mean, I'm hip to the CLA 76.
CLA 76, yeah, classic.
But I use that for snare drums a lot.
Yeah.
Sometimes I use the CLA 76 Blackie for bass as well.
Huh?
It's nice control to the bass, you know.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Number 4 is the CLA Mix Hub. And this one's really cool. You know, it's basically an SSL channel, but I mean, I use it mostly on my subgroups. But what I do like about the compressor is you can switch it between an SSL channel compressor and the CLA 76 Blue.
Yeah.
But it's like the same. It's the same controls as the SSL channel compressor, so you have slightly less controls than you would if you actually pulled up the CLA plugin. Yeah. But the overall Mix Hub system, I think, is really cool because it you can remote control other instances of it, which I think is really interesting, especially on DAWs like Ableton Live, where it's kind of tricky to like move around between tracks and plugins and stuff. It's very cool for that. And the SSL EQs sound really good, and you can do one of my favorite SSL tricks, which not many SSL plugins can do, which is you can I don't know exactly what you call it, but on you basically, it's the equivalent of running line level signal through the mic preamp. And you can do that on the CLA Mix Hub. You can do it on the UAD SSL-E channel. You can hit the flip button and it does the same thing. But most of the SSL channel plugins I find don't do that for whatever reason. But that's one of my favorite sounds because it gives it this like super like saturated, like over the top compression distortion thing like pretty easily. So I find that's really cool for like a lot of different stuff. It's like overdriving the SSL channels, which is like the SSL sound, you know.
Yeah, of course.
And and number 5. Oh, sorry. What were you saying?
No, I was saying I love that overloading trip.
Yeah, for sure. Number 5, we already discussed it, is the Kramer Pi. So that's it. Those are our top 5 compressor plugins for mixing. And I think that brings us to the end of the podcast for this week. Little housekeeping. I am actually away next week, so we probably won't be posting next week. We may, I don't know. We'll see. But don't hold the edge of your seat. But definitely 2 weeks, we'll be back with more Producing Music Podcast. Yeah. Thank you so much. Shout out to you guys for listening, watching. You know, please hit us up on Facebook if you have any questions you'd like us to check out, and Anything in particular you'd like us to go over? And until next time, we will see you. And you're screwed.